Good morning, my magnificent ones. Oh, we're having a heat wave in my neck of the woods. It's Tea with Sue today, and I'm Sue Paulson, your magnificence mentor. Welcome. Everybody I know is looking for ways to cool off, to beat the heat. Now, I don't have air conditioning in my apartment, so I have a little fan going here and another bigger fan going there. So if you see my hair blowing around, that's because of the fan. Woo! So, and when I was in Jamaica, the little gift from the wedding was a fan. And so maybe I'll pick it up throughout this just to keep me cool, keep me going. Well, of course, one of the ways that I escape air conditioning or I escape the heat is to go to my car and put the air conditioning on in the car and drive around and cool off. Now, it's been said that in Alberta, we have two seasons. We have winter and we have construction. Well, not only is the air temperature hot, but let me tell you, you know what long delays and lineups and detours and all of the construction madness, reduced speed limits and so on can cause tempers to fray. And it can also cause people to do things that they maybe wouldn't otherwise do if it was an easy commute and everybody was calm, cool, and collected. So I look for antidotes all the time. And of course, when people are on the road and when people are engaging in stores, in lineups, in all manner of things, and maybe they're stressed because let's face it, the world is pretty chaotic right now. We have high inflation, extra costs at the grocery store, the pharmacy, the gas pump, you name it, everything's gone up. Did you notice your income going up? I didn't notice mine going up. And so then there's this internal battle. How am I going to make ends meet and come out ahead, or even just even instead of going in the hole? So there's all these little challenges that we're faced with, and sometimes it seems bleak. Well, if you've watched me before, you know that I'm in some cases, overly optimistic kind of person. I look for the bright side of things. I look for the silver lining in the clouds. And I like that. Now, there's some compelling reasons to do that. And one of them, and not the least of which, is that when we look for the positive, when we look for the good, it triggers feel-good hormones in our system. It tends to lower our stress level. We're happier. And when we're happy, just a smile, our bodies respond accordingly. Like they like us to be happy, and they send all kinds of good vibes throughout our systems that are beneficial to our immune system and all our body functions. So I look for ways to be happy, or situations that create a smile or a good feeling in my heart. So I got thinking about kindness. And of course, there's been books written about random acts of kindness and so on. And I'd like to make it my mission to not just do random acts of kindness, but to deliberately think about how can I demonstrate kindness? How can I model kindness for others? Because for some people, it's not that natural. Now, of course, being Canadian, we by nature tend to be quite polite, and people hold doors open for one another and let people into the flow of traffic if all of a sudden your lane is cut off and you need to get over and you didn't notice and so on. So that's going on. And believe me, I notice every time someone lets me in, and sometimes I've made a stoopy-doop move that caught me unawares, and I'm, oh no, now how am I going to maneuver into this lane? And inevitably somebody lets me in. I always give them a wave of appreciation, like, thanks, I really appreciate you just putting your foot on the brake and giving me a break. So so there's things like that. So when I thought about kindness, there's really three things I like to focus on with it. First of all, is to notice the kindness of others. So yesterday I went to the tire store to swap my winter tires out for my summer ones. Now, I know it's July and I should have done this probably 3 months ago, but I didn't. So I'm going on a little road trip, and I figured, yeah, it's so hot out, I better have those summer tires on. Well, while I'm sitting there waiting for the job to be done, and I'm chit-chatting with the staff, it was a new place. I'd never been there before. And the owner was working one of the counters and was very cordial, and we just were having a nice conversation. Well, an elderly couple come in the door, and the woman right then and right out loud says to the owner, "We just want you to know that that young man that's working out in your yard is just a gem, because he took time away from the customer he was dealing with to show us where the entrance to the building was, where the entrance to the shop was. And he's a real gem and he's a keeper. So we just wanted to acknowledge how helpful he was, and what a lovely young man." And well, of course, the owner is beaming and he says, "Oh yeah, he's a keeper for sure. We're really impressed with him." And I'm listening to this, and of course I'm beaming because I'm thinking, oh, not only did this young man do a lovely kindness, but the couple that he did the kindness for didn't hesitate to show their appreciation. So that in itself is a kindness, to let people know when you've had good service or you appreciate just some little thing that somebody did for you, to acknowledge that and say, wow, if it brightened your day in some way, it's worth mentioning. So I'm a huge observer of people. So if I have a chance to sit, I'm watching and I'm kind of listening to what's going on around me. Well, I notice these different kindnesses that come along, and it's lovely. So recently, last week when I came back from Jamaica, and I was on this long flight, and then there was a long walk in the airport to get to customs. There was a moment when I thought, you know what, I just need to sit down. So I went over to the side and I sat down. And interestingly, the couple that had been my seatmates, who actually moved to a less crowded row shortly after takeoff. So I hadn't even really had a chance to talk to them, but they had kind of acknowledged that they were sitting with me. Well, they're coming up the ramp, and the woman just stops right in the middle of the aisle, and she turns to me and she says, "Are you okay?" And of course I said, well, oh yes, I just needed to rest for a minute. But it startled me, because we hadn't really even had a conversation. So they're definitely strangers to me. But because they had noticed me on the flight and then they saw me sitting there, maybe it's my silver hair, I don't know. but they were concerned and wanted to check in. Well, I was so warmed by that. I mean, I was so appreciative that they would think to stop. So, and there's can be so many instances of that in a day, where people just go out of their way to show kindness. Well, I think we want to do that ourselves. And how are our young people going to know how to do that if we don't show them, if we don't, and then when they do a kindness, if we don't acknowledge? So sometimes my twin granddaughters will wrangle. Okay, they're going to be 4, and they sharing is difficult. Let's face it, it's even difficult for adults sometimes, and maybe they're having a little wrangle about something. And then all of a sudden, one will do something very kind to the other one, or for the other one, and I notice it. And so I'll comment, and I've noticed that their parents will comment too and say, oh, that was very kind of you to do that. And lots of times it's just a spontaneous offering of, would you like some of this or whatever, or they'll share without even questioning it. So, well, where do they learn that? Well, they learn it from us. They learn that we show our appreciation when somebody does a kindness for us. They watch us doing kindnesses for other people. And if we're going to have a virus in the world, let's have a kindness virus, right? Where it is contagious, it does catch on, and people realize, oh, well, if that person held the door open for me, then I'll hold the door open for the person behind me, and so on and so on. And then pretty soon the environment shifts. And even if the day was fraught with things that didn't go well, those little bright spots just help to lift us up and to lift others up. Because even if somebody just saw that out of the corner of their eye as they're going by, there's an internal acknowledgement of, oh, that was a kindness. Isn't that lovely? So I think we want to pay attention to that. I think I had one other thing here. Oh, yes. Sure. So the three things: to notice the kindnesses that you see around you, be observant, be aware of what's going on. Whenever you can, extend a kindness, and get in the habit of that, because when we're in the habit of showing kindness, then it just becomes part of us and something we do without even thinking about it. And sometimes we just deliberately say, oh, that person needs help, and you go over and assist them. And then, of course, that gratitude for what others not only do for us, but they do for other people, that you say, oh, that was so kind of you to do that for that person. And then of course, the giver may not have even thought about it. It was just second nature to them. Well, the fact that you've acknowledged that to them is a kindness to them, gives them a little glow, and of course encourages them to do more of the same. So it's all too easy, I think, in our day-to-day life to forget, with the onslaught of lots of things coming at us. And maybe we have important decisions to make. Maybe we have family members who are very ill. Maybe life is bleak for us. Well, we can change our whole outlook on life pretty quickly, in fact, at the snap of a finger, just by doing a kindness for someone else. And of course, that includes you too. Self-care is a huge kindness, not just to yourself, but to everybody else. Because when you're looking after you well, it's a whole lot easier to look after other people. If you're not getting your needs met, then you don't have the capacity to give to someone else without feeling maybe put upon or resentful or whatever. It's not true giving. It's almost like coercion. I feel I have to do this. So the turning our attention to ourselves is vital to being able to spread kindness to others. I know lots of people, and I don't do it very often anymore because I quit doing it. I decided deliberately that I wasn't going to badmouth myself. If something didn't work out, I made a foolish decision, I made a wrong turn, something happened, I don't beat myself up anymore. I used to, but I decided that that was not good for me, that I could cut myself some slack, that I could say, well, you didn't do that as well as you wanted to, but next time. Or, oh, I forgot that. Oh, well, that happens. And just make allowances for some of the areas where perfectionism wants to kind of take over, right? And say, what's wrong with you? You didn't do. That's not being your own best friend, right? And kindness, part of being your own best friend is to exhibit the same level of kindness or even a greater level of kindness to yourself as you would do for other people. So it's an internal game as well. It's important that you decide what kindness can you do for yourself. And that can take many, many forms. I mean, it could be a great kindness to get out and exercise more every day instead of sitting on the couch. Or it could be a great kindness to not buy that bag of potato chips and buy celery instead, or carrots or something. So I mean, that's a kindness to your body for sure. So there's all kinds of kindnesses in all different categories that can draw your attention, and that you can make strides in. And what's the goal? Well, the goal, of course, the benefits of doing all of that, of being kind to yourself and kind to others, is it in a kind of a global area, it changes the face of the energy that's going on around you. I mean, all you need to do is turn on the news and listen to the doom and gloom, and it can bring you down pretty quickly. But if you listen to a feel-good podcast, it can flip that around, and you go, oh, okay, there's lots of goodness in the world. And kindness is, and the application of that is one way. There's the antidote to the tough things that are going on in the world, the things that seem somewhat insolvable. So that's what we want to look at. And of course, out of that, from an internal standpoint, when we reduce our stress levels by doing the opposite, by the kindness factor and self-care factor, then we feel less stressed, we feel more able to cope, we have more energy, our bodies start to thrive instead of struggle to survive. And that's a good thing. That's something that if you want to create your brand of heaven on earth, well, maybe that's a big factor as part of that. Well, I need to introduce more of this. So that's what I want to encourage you to do over this next week. Notice the kindness of others. Extend your own kindness to yourself and other people, and show your appreciation and gratitude for all the kindnesses that other people give to you, or you notice being given to others. You'll love it. I promise. I know I love it. You know you can do this because you are that magnificent. Now, if you're enjoying the Tea with Sue channel, you're more than welcome to subscribe. And you also can get more Tea with Sue. I have I think this is episode number 82. So there's more of them listed and posted, not only on YouTube channel, but also on my app, my free app, The Magnificence Mentor, which I invite you to download and check out the other videos and articles that are on the app. In the meantime, have a glorious weekend. Keep as cool as you can. And I'll look forward to seeing you next week on Tea with Sue. Take good care.